Assalamualaikum everyone. So today we are going to continue with the topic of travel time studies, and then we will discuss about delay studies as well. So, uh, we will start with the concept of travel time contour map. Now, if you remember, I told you at the beginning of this topic that one of the applications of a travel time study is to prepare a travel time contour map, a map which shows the line joining the points of same travel time from a center. So you can see an example on the slide here. This is a travel time contour map. Okay, and you can see two lines are here, and the legend is given at the right bottom corner. Okay, so there are two lines, one for 15 minutes travel time, one for 30 minutes travel time, and the travel time is taken from this center. Okay, so this is the center of the map, and the lines show the travel time from this point. So any point on this line has a travel time of 15 minutes from this location. So if I'm here, to get to this point, I will need 15 minutes. Okay, and similarly, if I'm at any point on this line, at any segment which is joined by this line, I will need 30 minutes or half an hour to get to this center location. Okay. Now, what is the first of all, what we discussed in the previous lectures was doing a travel time study for a specific segment of the highway. Travel time contour map needs a more comprehensive study, a more detailed study, which is done for many highways. Obviously, you cannot prepare a travel time if you have just taken or done the study on few locations. You need the travel time data for the whole region. Then from the whole region, you would see how many locations are at 15 minutes from this point and 30 minutes from this point and so on. So this is a bigger or a wider study, and it needs more data. Okay, so you can still apply the same techniques, test car, license plate, whatever, but you will need more data. Okay, this is what I mean. Secondly, why do we do this? Now, you may have heard or read about the concept of catchment area. When you are calculating the load of the slab, then you see the catchment area, how much load of the slab is coming on a specific beam and column. So you calculate this catchment area. So the catchment area will be the area which is near that beam, the area of the slab which is near that beam. So same thing applies to your travel as well. When you are going for a specific need, for example, shopping or hospital or bank, you will prefer to go to a okay, and at nearby location. How near that location would be depends upon the type of the location. For example, we have so many shopping malls. So shopping is really easy. So you will not travel 15-20 minutes, or you will not travel like 1 hour to go to a shopping mall. You have so many shopping malls near you. Okay, so the catchment area or the area of interest for a shopping mall is very limited. It's very short. Okay, so you may drive for 10-15 minutes for shopping, or you may accept to drive 10-15 minutes for a shopping trip. Okay, but if you are, let's say you are let's take your case, you are studying in a reputable university like University of Bahrain. Okay, let us assume that. So in that case, for your study, because it's a unique facility, in that case you may even travel for 40-50 minutes to get to the university, because this is the only location where you can find the higher education at these rates and so on. Okay, so in that case, your catchment area of the university, will be higher or wider. Okay, it will be more. Okay, so when you are the travel time contour map can tell you people from which areas will be coming towards your facility. Okay, so if it's a shopping mall, then usually 10-15 minutes travel time is enough to go for shopping. Travel time, okay. Like when you go for the shopping, then you're inside the mall, then you forget about everything, right? This is the aim of your life then, to do shopping. Okay, but to get to the shopping mall, you will not spend much time. Okay, so if this center point is the shopping mall, then people from this area, the area under this line, or the area within this contour line, will be coming towards this mall. Okay, if it's a like I said, if it's a big hospital, a major specialization hospital, then people may come from from far distances as well. So in that case, your catchment area may extend up to half an hour of travel time, because it's a specialist hospital. and if you are sick, you need to go to the hospital. So you will even accept driving for more time as well. So in that case, your catchment area will be more. Okay, and so on and so forth. If it's for example, if you take the example of Bahrain Airport, the catchment area of Bahrain Airport is what? The whole Bahrain. Okay, so in order to get to the airport, you may even drive for 1 hour because this is the only facility here. Okay, and when the causeway, if the causeway opens like without any restrictions, the catchment area may extend up to Dammam and Khobar as well to Saudi Arabia. Okay, this is because of the uniqueness of the facility and the services which it is providing. Okay, so basically the travel time contour map helps you to get the catchment area. Okay, to find out people from which region will be coming towards my facility. Okay, so it depends upon their travel time. Then this is another representation of travel time data. Okay, somebody cannot join. Okay, so this is another representation of travel time data, which is known as the time space diagram or time distance diagram. Okay, so on the y-axis you have time, on the x-axis you have distance. Okay, in some other books they have reversed it as well. So distance on the y-axis and time on the x-axis, but it doesn't matter. Now for time distance diagrams are plotted for a whole route. Okay, so you can see here at the bottom of the map or the bottom of the graph, you see different names. These are the names of the route, names of the roads and streets which are part of this route. So this route is going from point A to point B, and to go from point A to B, you have to cross so many roads and streets. Okay, so drive, you can see Foothill Road, Stone Ridge Drive. Okay, so the word drive means it's a local road. Boulevard is a bigger road, a major road, and when I use the word road, that means it's a highway or something. Okay, so below road will be like a highway. Okay, so at point 0 you are at this road, at point when you are across 1000 feet you are at this street, and so on. Okay, so they have marked the streets which are coming along this route. Okay, so for a route you can draw a time distance diagram. Okay, so now you can see a bold line here. The bold line represents the movement of a vehicle. Okay, so at 0 time the vehicle was here. At 30 minutes, I think, or 30 seconds. 30 seconds, yeah, 30 seconds. So 30 seconds the vehicle is here. At 1 minute the vehicle is here. Okay, and so on. Okay, so you can see the time and the distance vehicle covered in that time. Okay, now you can see a line which is giving you the average speed of this vehicle, the dotted line. Now, how did I get the average speed? So get the average speed from the travel time data. We already did it in the previous lecture. If you have the travel time data, you can calculate average speed. Okay, distance upon time, simple. So you find out the average speed of this route. Okay, and then how do you plot a line which represents average speed? Now speed is what? Distance upon time. Speed is distance upon time. Okay, so distance is on the x-axis, time is on the y-axis. Okay, now so that means slope of any line on this graph will be the inverse of speed, right? If you take the slope will be time upon distance, and the speed is distance upon time. So if you take the slope of any line on this curve, it will be the inverse of speed. So if the speed is 24.5 miles per hour, if the speed is 24.5 miles per hour, what will be the inverse of this? Give me the inverse. Inverse of 24.5. How much is the inverse of 24.5? Yes, inverse of 24.5. Easy. Yeah, 1 upon 24.5. How much is it? 0.041. Okay, 0.041, and since it is in miles per hour and the graph is in feet and second, so you have to convert it to feet and second. Okay, so it's in miles per hour. So you divide by you multiply 1.47. Okay, you multiply it with 1.47. Got it? So you'll get the slope. Okay. So let's say it's already converted. So 0.04 means 4% slope. Okay. If you for example you did the conversion and the value is 0.04. Okay. You have to do the conversion because the graph is in feet and second. Okay. This value is in miles per hour. So you have to convert into feet and second. Okay. 1.47 multiplied by it. Now you divide by it because it's inverse. So let's say you did the conversion, it is 0.04. So 0.04 means 4%, right? So on this graph, you will draw a line of 4% slope starting till the end. So the starting point will remain the same, and then you draw a line which is going towards the end. Okay, and the slope is inverse of the speed. Okay, so the inverse was 0.04, that means 4% slope, and you draw the line according to that. Okay. So now we have clarified one concept with the average line concept, average speed line concept, that if I take the slope of the line at any location, that will give me the speed of the vehicle on that segment. So for example, you can see the slope is changing, right? The slope of the line is different here, it is different here, it is different here, and so on and so forth. Okay, so because obviously you are crossing so many roads and streets, so every road and street has its own design speed and it has its own traffic volume. So according to design speed and traffic volume, the speed of your vehicle will also change. Okay, so because the vehicle speed is changing, so you can see the slope of the line is also changing from one location to another location. Okay, so if you want to find out how much is the speed in that location in this segment of the road, find out the slope and do the inverse, and then do the conversion. Okay, find out the slope of the line, do the inverse, and then you will get the answer in feet per second. Then you do the conversion. Okay, divide by 1.47. And if you have the answer in, if you want to draw a line of a specific speed, then do the inverse of the speed, do the conversion, and that will give you the slope of the line, and then you plot the line. Okay, or you can do the conversion first and then you can do the inverse and then plot the line. Okay, now you can see at some locations the line is going vertical. The movement line is going vertical. I'm talking about this one. Okay, obviously average speed is single a straight line. I'm talking about this one, the line which is representing the movement of the vehicle. You see, this portion is straight. Straight means it's going vertical. So that means what? Time is passing, distance is not covered. Vertical line means time is passing, distance is not covered. So this line is basically showing you the stop delay. This portion of the line is showing you the stop delay. So how much was the stop delay from this point to this point? Okay. So from the time distance diagram, you can find out the speed, which is the inverse of the slope. You can also find out the stop delay. Okay. And if you want to plot a line for a specific speed, then you have to do the inverse, the conversion, and you plot the line. Okay. So that vertical portion of the time distance line will give you the stop delay. Now there's another way in which you can plot these lines, which is to have distance on the x-axis and speed on the y-axis. Instead of time, have a speed on the y-axis. Okay. So you see again there are three lines basically. You have this short line, you have this bold line, and you have this knotted line. Okay. So this example is for an HOV lane. HOV means high occupancy lane. HOV stands for high occupancy vehicle. So HOV lane means lane for high occupancy vehicles. What are high occupancy vehicles? These are vehicles which carry more passengers. So a car can be a high occupancy vehicle if there are 4 or 5 people in that car, 3, 4, 5 people in that car. It can be called as a high occupancy vehicle. And obviously, if a bus is going and there are 10, 15 passengers in the bus, that is also a high occupancy vehicle. So in some countries, what they do is they encourage people to use buses or to share their cars with other people by allowing them to go from an exclusive lane, a dedicated lane. Okay. Okay, so those vehicles, the high occupancy vehicles, can travel from their own exclusive lane, so they will not be part of the regular traffic. So we are incentivizing them, giving them incentive to have more people in their vehicle, so they have their own lane and they will go faster. Okay, so the bold line is for the lane flow, so all vehicles are there. Okay, all vehicles are there. Okay, and the dotted line, this dotted line, continuous dotted line, is for the lane, the HOV lane, before we made it the HOV lane. Okay, before you made any HOV lane on the road. Okay, this was the speed, the graph for the speed. Okay, and the HOV lane starts at this point and ends at this point. So you can see the start and end of the HOV lanes, because the x-axis is in terms of distance. So from this point, from my 0 point, HOV lane is at this much distance and it will end at this much distance. Okay, so this graph is when the HOV lane was not assigned. Okay, so before the HOV lane was assigned, this lane, which was the whatever lane it is having very low speed. You see here, the speed is very low. Okay, so they decided, since this segment and this lane has a problem, why not make this as an HOV lane? So we will make this lane exclusive for high occupancy vehicles in this much segment. Which segment? Where the speed is already low. Okay, so the speed is low because everybody is going from this lane. So we said no, we will make this lane exclusive and exclusive and separate only for HOVs. Okay, high occupancy vehicles. So after making it like this, what happened? You can see it here. Okay, this is the speed in the HOV lanes, the lane which was having the problem. Okay, and this is the speed in the other lanes. Okay, mixed lane. Okay, so now if you compare the speed, it looks low, but if you compare this value with this value, okay, you see here speed 25, 35. Even for the mixed flow, it is between 45 and 55. Even for the other lanes, it is between 45 and 55. So if you compare it with this, the speed for all the lanes have increased because of HOV. The speed for all the lanes have increased. Even the lanes which are for mixed flow have a speed more than 55. See, in this case more than 50. So the speed for all the lanes have increased. Okay, HOV lane speed is already high because it is for a specific type of vehicles. Okay, it is now reserved for a specific type of vehicle. So obviously its speed will be higher because there are less number of vehicles in that lane. But the speed for the other lanes have also increased because you have reduced the HOV vehicles from those lanes to their own lane. So if with HOVs the total flow in some lane was, let's say, 2000. So out of 2000 there were 200 HOVs. So now these 200 are in the HOV lane. Okay, so the other lane has flow of 200 vehicles less. So the speed of that lane has also increased. So the HOV lane is benefiting everybody. It is benefiting the people who are in the other lanes as well as people who are in HOVs. Okay, so you can see HOV starts from here. This is the initial speed and it ends here. So you can see at this point the speed of the HOV lane increases as well. Maybe because of the design, maybe because of something, we don't know. But the point here is, this is a speed and distance diagram from which you can identify these things. Which sections have a problem of speed, which sections have a problem of delay, and if I introduce an HOV lane or a special type of signal or a bus lane, then what can happen? You can identify these things from the graph. Okay, from the speed distance graph. Now we will talk about intersection delay studies. What are intersection delay studies? These are studies which are done on intersection to find out the delay. Now we already discussed the delay for highway segments, right? In the previous examples, the delay was part of the travel time study. Okay, but intersections are slightly different. Okay, and why, I will tell you later on. delay of highway was simple. You have the stopwatch. When the car stops, you measure the delay. Simple. But the intersection delay studies are different. Now, why delay is important for intersections? Because delay is a measure of effectiveness of the control device you are using at the intersection. Delay is the measure of effectiveness of the control device which you are using at the intersection. These control devices can be signals, they can be roundabouts, they can be stop signs, or any other thing. So a control device will be considered more effective if it is causing less delay. Okay, all control devices cause some delay. This is for sure. This is by default. Obviously, you are trying to slow down people. You are trying to avoid accidents. You are trying to stop them to give chance to other vehicles. So obviously, there will be some delay. So devices which cause less delay are better than devices which cause more delay. Okay, for example, you have a roundabout and you have a signal. Roundabout causes a delay of 5 seconds. Signal causes a delay of 10 seconds. So signal is less effective than roundabouts, and so on. Okay. Obviously, there are other factors as well, but I just gave you a very a raw example. Okay. So intersection delay studies are important to find out the effectiveness of the control device you are using at the intersection. Now, the delay which is measured at the intersection is known as control delay. Because it is for the control device, so we call it control delay. Now, control delay includes three things. Control delay includes three things. It includes the time of the vehicle spent in the queue. So when the vehicle comes, there's a queue. The vehicle has to join the queue. Okay, it will be part of the queue and it has to stop in line with the other vehicles. Queue meaning the line, the soft, the whatever other things you call it. Okay, these are the things I know. You call it a line or a saf in Arabic. Okay. So you have a line of the vehicle, you have to join the queue, and you will stand in the queue. That is part of control delay, because that queue is because of what? The control device. Okay. Second part of control delay is the deceleration which you did before joining the queue. So you are coming towards the intersection, you see the signal is red or there's a queue, okay, or the signal is about to become red, so you will decrease your speed. If there was no signal, if there was no intersection, then you may not have decreased your speed, you may not have decelerated. So the time you are wasting in deceleration is also part of control delay, because it is also because of the control device. When you leave the queue, leaving the queue means crossing the stop line. When you cross the stop line, you move forward. Now you are, when you move forward, so you still have to, like you will, when you start to move, your speed will be 0, right? When you start to move, your speed is 0 because you were stopped. So your speed is 0 or your speed is very low. Even if you didn't have to stop completely, your speed is very low. You will not travel at this speed of 10 kilometers per hour, 20 kilometers per hour for the rest of the section of the road, right? You will increase your speed. Now the time which you will spend in acceleration is also part of control delay, because acceleration would not have been required if there was no control device. If there was no queue, you would not have decelerated or stopped, and you would not have accelerated as well. Okay, so time in queue delay starts when you start to decelerate, then it will continue when you join the queue, and it will continue till you accelerate. And when the queue starts to move and you leave the queue and you go back to the ambient speed. Ambient means normal, average. Okay, average speed of the road, normal speed of the road. Whenever we use the word ambient, ambient means something which is part of the environment, part of the surrounding. Okay, so whatever speed is part of this road, normal speed of this road, that will be called as the ambient speed. So you were coming at a normal speed of the road, you saw the queue and the control device, you decelerated, then you joined the queue, then the queue started to move, you left the queue, you start to accelerate to go back to the normal speed. All this is part of control delay, because all this is caused because of the intersection and the control device which is at the intersection. Now we will discuss finding out control delay for two types of control devices: signals and roundabouts. Signals and roundabouts. Okay, they have discussed for stop control in your book as well, but it will be a lot. Okay, so we are not discussing the delay measurement for stop control, okay, or stop signs. Okay, so we start with the control delay measurement for signals. The procedure for this measurement was given in Highway Capacity Manual of 2000. Okay, and after that it has not been changed. So we have the manual of 2010, then we had the manual of 2016 as well, but the procedure is not changed. Okay, in this procedure you need two observers. You need two observers. So for any side of the intersection you need two observers. So if you are doing all the sides, then you will need for each side two observers. Before you start the survey, you have to make sure that the survey is conducted in undersaturated conditions. Undersaturated means what? Saturation means something is full at capacity. So undersaturated means the intersection should be below capacity. The volume at the intersection should be below capacity. Now, how should I know what is the capacity and whether it is over capacity or under capacity? They have given me some conditions. The first condition is count how many vehicles are in the queue at any particular time when the signal is red. Count how many vehicles are in the queue, how many vehicles are stacked in the queue because of the signal. If the number is more than 20, maximum you can go up to 25. Okay, but try to if the number is less than 20, it is the ideal case. Okay, so if the number of vehicles in the queue goes more than 25, that means it is under oversaturated conditions. Oversaturated conditions. Okay, for some highways even above 20 is not allowed. Even if it is above 20, then still you will consider it as oversaturated conditions. In oversaturated conditions, you will not do the survey. You will come back and go at some other time when the volume is low. Another condition given at in the last point. So last point says two things. First thing is start your survey when the signal becomes red. Start your survey when the signal becomes red. Okay, so you will starting the survey means you will start your stopwatch. Okay, I will explain the procedure later on, but basically your stopwatch will start from, and you will start counting the vehicles when the signal has just become red, at the start of the red. Okay, with no overflow from the previous signal cycle. Okay, with no overflow from the previous signal cycle. Now overflow means what? You came to the intersection, the signal was red, you stopped, but there's a long queue in front of you. So when the signal became green, you started to move, but before you came to the end of the intersection, the signal became red again. Okay, and then you started thinking about committing suicide, right? Because this is the end of the world for you. The signal has become red. They are not letting you pass, right? So you are part of the overflow in that condition. This is what we mean overflow. You are the overflow. You became the part of the overflow from the previous signal cycle. You were standing on that signal from the previous red phase, and you still have to spend more time in the queue in the next red phase. Okay, so when you go at the signal, first of all, don't start the survey right away. First of all, for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, have a quick look. Okay, count the number of vehicles in the queue and see if the vehicles which are in the queue are passing easily in the immediate green phase. If they are not passing easily, that means again we have overflow, and overflow means the conditions are not undersaturated. The signal is above capacity. The intersection is above capacity. Again, you come back, go back at some other time when the volume is low. So there are two indications for undersaturated conditions. The length of the queue should be less than 20 vehicles, and the vehicles should be able to pass in the vehicles which arrive during red time to pass in the next green time. They should not have to wait for the next red and then for the green after that. Okay. Another thing which you have to do before you start the survey is find out the free flow speed. Okay, so free flow speed, I told you, basically you have to do a spot speed study for the side of the signal where you will find out the delay. Do a spot speed study for the highway on that side. So for example, this is an intersection. Okay, so this is the side for which you will find out the delay. So on this highway or this side of the highway, do a spot speed study. Now if I do a spot speed study at this location, what will be the speed? Will it be free flow? No, everybody is stopping. It's an intersection, right? It's an intersection with a signal. So if I do a spot speed study in normal procedure, here the speed will be 0 or 10 or 20 kilometers per hour, which is not the free flow speed. Okay, so to find out the free flow speed for this study, for control delay study, either do a spot speed study away from this intersection, how much away, so that the speed of the vehicle is not affected by the signal. Okay, your location of spot speed is so far away from the intersection that the vehicle has not started to decelerate because of the intersection. So even if the signal is red, the vehicle is still moving at normal speed at this particular location. It will decelerate later. So you can do a spot speed study away from the signal and you call it a free flow speed. Or there's another method. You do a spot speed study at the intersection, but only include the vehicles which arrive during green time and pass without any stoppage. You know, sometimes it happens you are coming towards the intersection, it is already green, and you pass while the signal is green for you. Okay, so you are the lucky one, you are the chosen one, the favored one from the God, and so on. So you say Alhamdulillah and you pass. In that case, so you are standing at the intersection, you're doing your spot speed study, but you will not include the speed of all the vehicles in your study. You will only include the vehicles which arrived during green time and passed in the same interval. Okay, so your speed was unaffected by the signal. You know, in some cases, or in most of the cases, the speed of these vehicles will be even higher than the normal speed of the road. Because what happens, you see the signal is green, you try to capitalize on this time, right? You want to pass during this time, because otherwise this is the end of the world for you, right? So you increase your speed, then you don't think about other things, right? The road design and the traffic and so on. You know, you just try to go ahead when the signal is still green for you. Everybody is doing that. Okay, so even if you are following some other driver, the driver in front of you is also doing the same thing. Okay, so this will give you a very good estimate of the free flow speed. Okay, if you are passing during green time, because people try to capitalize the green time and their speed is faster than any other condition. Okay, so you start your survey when you have all these things. You have two observers, the conditions are undersaturated, you know the free flow speed of the road, and you are at the signal and the signal has just become red. Okay, now let us see what these two observers have to do. We have two observers, observer 1 and 2. Observer 1 is assigned to count the number of vehicles which are in the queue at a fixed time interval. So observer 1 has the job to count the vehicles in the queue after a fixed time interval. So first of all, you give him an interval. Okay, what do we mean the vehicles in the queue? The vehicles which come towards the signal and they have to stop because there are vehicles in front of them, or they have the signal red. Okay, so any vehicle which comes to the intersection and they have to stop becomes a vehicle in the queue. Okay, so when they stop, they become part of the queue. Now what this observer is doing, so first of all you give him an interval first, and that interval should be between 10 and 20 seconds. The length of the interval should be between 10 and 20 seconds. So for example, you give him an interval of 10 seconds. Okay, so when he starts the survey, at that time he will count how many vehicles in the queue. Okay, so for example, he counted 5 vehicles. Then for the next 10 seconds, he will not do anything. After 10 seconds, he will count again. Okay, the queue must have increased or decreased or moved, and he will count again. Okay, so he will count. He counted. Now there are 3 vehicles in the queue. Okay, then after 10 seconds, he counts again, and after 10 seconds, and so on and so forth. Okay, so his job is to count the number of vehicles in the queue after the interval which you have given to him. Okay. Now, how do we know the value of the interval? How do we fix the value of the interval? You can take any value between 10 and 20 seconds, which should be an integral divisor of the cycle length of the signal. Now, there are some heavy and new words here, right? First of all, let me explain the most important word, which is cycle of the signal cycle. Okay, a signal cycle means the time taken by the signal to complete all the movements on that intersection. Okay, to complete all the movements on the intersection. Okay, so this is an intersection. The signal will become green for this side, then for this side, then for this side, then for this side. Okay, and after that it will become red for this side again. Okay, so the signal was, when the signal is red for this side, remember you are starting at the red phase. So when the signal is red, okay, so maybe this movement is going on. Okay, then this becomes red, this movement is going on, and this becomes red and this movement is going on. Then this one becomes green and then this movement goes on, and then the signal becomes red for this one again. That means it has completed the cycle. All sides of the signal have completed their movement once. This is the completion of the signal cycle. Okay, so signal cycle is the time taken by the signal to complete the movements from all the sides, the movement from all the sides. And how do you know? You stand at any side of the signal. You stand at any side of the signal, okay, and you see, you start counting the cycle when the signal has just become red, and the cycle will end when the signal becomes red again. Okay, so your 0 time is the start of the red, and the final time will be the start of the next red. Okay, Ali, we do not normally, theoretically, you can measure it from green to green as well. Theoretically, you can measure it from green to green as well, but we will have some other problems. So normally signal cycle is measured from red to red, from red to red. Green to green is not measured. Theoretically, you are correct. Theoretically, you are correct. Concept-wise, it is correct. Okay, but practically, starting from green will have some problems. Okay, because you have the yellow phase and so on. So we always start from the red phase. Signal cycle is always started from the red phase. Okay, but the concept is when you complete all the movements, when the signal completes all the movements and come back to the starting movement again, that is the completion of the cycle. So for example, so this is the definition of signal cycle. Okay, when you complete all the movements. Let's say the time taken from one red phase to another red phase is 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Now they are saying the interval given to observer 1 should be an integral divisor of 60. Integral divisor is the opposite of multiple. It's the opposite of multiple. So when I say it should be a multiple of 10 or multiple of 20, if you take the opposite, it becomes integral divisor. Okay, what do we mean? 60 seconds. If the signal cycle is 60 seconds, can I take an interval of 10 seconds? Yes. Why? Because 60 divided by 10 will give me an integer. So this is what integral divisor. When you divide by that number, you get an integer. That is integral divisor. Okay. So can I take, so 10 seconds can be taken as integral divisor of 60, right? 60 upon 10 gives you 6. Okay, can I take 11 as a interval? No, because 60 upon 11 will give you in fractions. It will not be an integer. Can I take 12? Yes, 12 can be taken as an interval because 12 is again integral divisor of 60. Okay, so you first of all find out cycle length, and then you select a number between 10 and 20, which is an integral divisor. Okay, so 13 and 14 cannot be selected for a cycle length of 60 seconds. 15 can be selected because 60 upon 15 will give you 4, again an integer. Okay, so all these, this is how you select the interval. Okay, now you may have, first of all, so you are counting the number of vehicles in the queue. You may have 0 vehicles in the queue as well. You don't have any vehicles which were stopped because of the queue or because of the red signal. You may have and some intervals like that, right? Because intervals may come during green time as well. Okay, the end of your interval may come during green time as well. So in that case, you will not have any vehicles in the queue. In some cases, the vehicles are moving, but they will still be considered part of the queue. Okay, why? For example, a vehicle came to the intersection. Let's say this vehicle came to the intersection. Now this vehicle has to stop at this point because there are vehicles in front of it. Okay, this is small rectangle is a vehicle. Okay, so this became this vehicle will be counted in the queue. Okay, now the signal has become green. Signal has become green. So what will happen? The vehicles will start to move. Now this is your time interval where you are counting the number of vehicles in the queue. You will still count this vehicle in the queue if it has not crossed the stop line. If this vehicle is going straight, they call it through vehicle. A vehicle which is going straight from the intersection is known as through vehicle. So through vehicle means straight. So any vehicle which is going straight and it was stopped on the signal will be counted. You will keep on counting that vehicle in the queue until that vehicle leaves the stop line. Okay, so you counted the vehicle was here. It has moved, but it has still not crossed the stop line. So you will count it again in the number of vehicles in the queue. Okay. In the next interval, the vehicle came here. So now this vehicle is out of the queue because it has crossed the stop line. Okay. This is for through vehicle. Let's say this vehicle was going left. So it is at this location. You will count it. Okay. In the queue. In the next interval, it is at this location. Since it is a turning vehicle, turning vehicles will be counted in the queue until they clear the opposing movement. So for this vehicle which is turning left, the opposite movement is this one, right? The opposite movement is this one. Okay. So if this vehicle is here, still it will be considered as part of the queue because it has not cleared the opposite movement. So when it crosses towards this point, towards this side, then you will not count it in the queue. Okay, so our turning vehicle will be which became part of the queue will remain or will be counted in the queue until it crosses the opposing movement. Now if there is a pedestrian crosswalk here, then you will keep on counting it until it crosses the pedestrian crosswalk, because pedestrian is also opposite movement to this vehicle, right? Pedestrian movement will also block this vehicle's movement. Okay, so for the turning vehicle, the vehicle will be counted in the queue until it crosses all the opposing movement, whether it is for the vehicles which is from the other direction or it is for the pedestrians which are crossing from the turning direction on the road. Okay, so until the vehicle crosses these things, they will the opposing movement, they will still be considered part of the queue for turning. For straight or through vehicle, it is simple. Just whenever it crosses the stop line, it is out of the queue now. Okay. Now, why we have put this restriction on the vehicles to keep on counting them in the queue, even if they are moving, because they are not accelerating. Until a through vehicle crosses the stop line, or until a turning vehicle crosses the opposing movement, they will not accelerate fully. They will be careful and they will be following other vehicles. So, okay, so this vehicle will be considered as part of the queue because they are not accelerating. When you are out of the queue, you start to accelerate. So a through vehicle will start to accelerate when it crosses the stop line, and turning vehicle will start to accelerate when it crosses or clears the opposing movement. Okay. The last point is observer 1. So you give a time to observer 1 that your survey will continue for 10 minutes. You do these observations for 10 minutes. Okay. Now after 10 minutes, some vehicles came to the intersection. During the 10 minutes, when you are observing the queues, the vehicles came to the intersection. Okay. These vehicles did not leave the intersection till the end of the 10 minutes. So you will continue your observations till these vehicles have left the intersection as well. Okay, so if there were 10 vehicles which were at the end in the queue at the end of the 10 minutes, they are in the queue. Okay, so you will continue the survey for extra time periods until these 10 vehicles leave the intersection. The 10 vehicles which are in the survey in the intersection at the end of your survey period. Okay, so observer 1 may have extended or extra time periods to make sure the vehicles which came to the intersection or which were in the queue at the end of the 10 minutes or at the end of the survey period have also left the intersection. Okay, so if these 10 vehicles leave in the next time interval, he will take one more reading and then he will finish. If these 10 vehicles take 2 more intervals to pass from the intersection, he will do 2 extra readings and then he will finish. Okay, so observer 1 must continue till all the vehicles which were in the queue during the survey period have left the intersection. Leaving the intersection means the same thing. Okay, crossing the stop line or the opposing movement for turning vehicle. Then we have observer 2. Observer 2 is taking continuous counts for 2 things: total number of vehicles arrived and total number of vehicles stopped, and this count is continuous. Observer 1, I gave him intervals, right? So once he has counted, then he will wait for the next interval. During these 2 counts, he will not do any counting. But observer 2 is doing the count continuously. So whenever a vehicle arrives to the intersection, Even if it is after half a second, he has to count it. Okay, and the other column he is maintaining is the number of vehicles stopped. So a vehicle arrives, it doesn't stop, it just keeps on moving, he will not count it. A vehicle arrives, he has to stop, so he will count it as the vehicle arrived, and he will also add 1 in the vehicle stopped. Okay. Now vehicle may arrive and stop. So he will add 1 in the vehicle arrived, and he will add 1 in the vehicle stopped. This vehicle starts to move, okay, and then it stops again. This vehicle starts to move and stops again. The observer 2 will not count it again. So if the vehicle stops again, observer 2 will not count it again. Okay, so the vehicles are only counted once when they stop for the first time. Okay, and vehicle stop, then you don't count it again. Okay, so these are the observations from the two observers. These are the equations. So we have to follow steps to calculate the control delay. First of all, we calculate time in Q delay. Time in Q delay, which is interval. IS means the interval which you have given to observer 1. VT is the total number of vehicles arrived at the intersection coming from observer 2. Total number of vehicles, stopped or not stopped, total. And VIQ means vehicles in queue, which is coming from observer 1. So one observation from observer 1 is VIQ. So after 10 minutes or 15 minutes or after the end of the survey period, he will have multiple observations. So you take all the observations and you add them, you will get summation of VIQ. Summation of VIQ is the addition of all the values coming from observer 1. Okay. Then 0.9 is a constant, is an empirical factor, it will not change. So this is time spent in the queue by each vehicle. Then you have VSLC, which is vehicles stopped per lane per cycle. So you have number of vehicles stopped observed by observer 2. You count the number of lanes on the side of the road, and you count how many cycles passed in your survey period. So your survey period continued for 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, you saw the signal became red for, let's say, 7 times. The number of cycles will be 7. Okay, so you have to observe these things. You calculate VSLC, then you calculate FVS. FVS stands for fraction of vehicles stopped. So total number of vehicles stopped, vehicles stopped upon total number of vehicles. Basically the ratio of the observations from observer 2. Okay, both observations are from observer 2, so you take their ratio, you get FVS. This is the equation for total delay. Time in Q delay plus FVS into CF. FVS is fraction of vehicles stopped, which you already calculated. Time in Q already calculated. CF is a correction factor coming from this table. Okay, so in this table you can see you need free flow speed as well. That's why we said before start the survey, find out the free flow speed. So if your free flow speed is 40 miles per hour, so 40 is this range, and your VSLC was 10, so 10 is this range. Okay, so your correction factor will be +4. Okay, so after you get the values, you calculate the control delay, total delay. So you have time in Q delay plus these things. So time in Q delay is the time when you were stopped or you were in the queue. And what is this? What is this multiplication giving? It is giving you the time wasted during acceleration and deceleration. Remember I told you control delay is Q plus acceleration and deceleration. So this FVS into SCF is giving you the time or the delay caused because of acceleration and deceleration. This is the sheet. So you have general information on the top. Who is doing the survey, when and where. Okay, so the name of the intersection, type of area. Type of area can be CBD or other. CBD means Central Business District. CBD means Central Business District. Commercial area. Commercial area. It's a commercial area, non-commercial area. Analysis here. How many lanes you have. What interval you gave to observer 1. Cycle length in seconds. So you have to find it out before you start the survey so that you can give the interval. Then observer 2 will write down the number of vehicles arrived and the number of vehicles stopped in this sheet as well. So to the traffic engineer, I will just give one sheet which has all the information. Okay, so it has the information from observer 2 as well. This is the information collected from observer 1. So in these cells, you will write number of vehicles in the queue after every interval. So the clock time is here, the cycle number is here. Okay, so when you start the survey, you will write down the clock time and the cycle number will be 1. Okay, so for example, in one cycle you will have 5 intervals. For example, you have selected an interval so that in one cycle you will do the counting 5 times. So in each row you will have 5 values. When you complete the 5 values, the signal becomes red again, and you start the new cycle. So you will be in the new row. So in the new row, you will write cycle number 2. You write the clock time, and you will have 5 more values, and so on. Okay, so these are vehicles in queue. These are the counts for vehicles in queue. Let us look at an example. I know we are going over time, but let me complete it because I completed with the other section as well. So they have taken out the general information because this is just an example. So they start the survey at 5 p.m. Cycle number 1. Each cycle you have 3 readings. See, each cycle has 3 readings, and each reading has how much interval? 20 seconds. 0 plus 20 plus 40. Okay, so 3 readings, and each reading is after 20 seconds. So one cycle is how many seconds? 60. One cycle is 60 seconds. Okay, so in each cycle you have 3 readings, and each reading is 20 seconds. After 20 seconds. So after 60 seconds you have second cycle, and the time is 5:01. You have 3 more readings, and so on. Okay. This is the total number of vehicles. This is given by observer 2. This is not coming from this table. Okay. Vehicle total number of vehicles arrived 120 coming from observer 2. Total number of vehicles stopped again coming from observer 2 75. Okay, not from this table. And FFS again found before the survey. Before you started the delay study, you found the FFS using the spot speed analysis in the field. So the free flow speed is 35 miles per hour. Summation of VIQ. Summation of VIQ is a summation of all these values. Okay, so they have done the summation of each column, then they did the summation of the 3 columns. 40 plus 50 plus 42 gives you 132. Okay, summation of each column is not required. Summation of each column is not required. Just sum up the total number of values, all the values. This is 132. Okay, they did the summation of each column just to explain to you what they are doing, just to make things easy for you. Summation of each column is not required. VIQ is a summation of all the values. Okay, all the values in this table. Now let us. So these readings were taken on an approach, signal approach, which has, or side of the signal which has 2 lanes. Cycle length is 60. Okay, and the observation continued for 10 cycles. Okay, and the interval is 20 seconds. These things are written in the previous slide as well. You can see it in the table as well. VIQ 132, vehicles arrived 120, vehicles stopped 195, free flow speed 35. We have to find out the total control delay for this approach, for this site. Now, first of all, we will find out time in queue delay. So time in queue delay was interval 20 seconds multiplied by summation of VIQ 132 upon total number of vehicles, which is 120, multiplied by 0.9, which is a constant. So it gives you 19.8 seconds per vehicle. 19.8 seconds per vehicle. Then you find out VSLC. So total number of vehicles stopped 75, number of lanes 2, number of cycles 10, number of cycles in your survey period. So the answer is 3.75 vehicles per lane per cycle. Then you find out FVS. Vehicles stopped 75 upon total number of vehicles 120. So fraction of vehicles stopped 0.625. Then for control delay, you will find out the correction factor from the table. So this is the table. VSLC 3.75. So here, first column, FFS 35. So first row, so correction factor is plus 5. So your delay is 19.8, which is the time in queue delay, plus FVS into correction factor. FVS 0.625, correction factor 5. Okay, so you add them together. The delay cost because of this signal is 22.9 seconds per vehicle. So this signal is causing an average delay of 22.9 seconds to every vehicle which is coming towards this side. Okay, so if there is another signal which is causing a delay of 15 seconds, that signal is more effective than this one. Or if there is another signal which is causing a delay of 30 seconds, so that signal is better than this one. Oh, sorry, this signal is better than that one. Okay, so this is how you measure the effectiveness of the signal. Okay, sorry for the delay. I will stop now, and I'm going for the attendance. If you have some questions, you can ask me after the attendance. Okay, so that you can leave. Dua Rabi. Okay. Amna Muhammad. If you see your name on the, yeah, if you see your name, just raise your hand. Okay, don't wait for my call. Mohammed Usama. Okay, good. Amal Abdullah. Okay. Mohammed Norman. Ali Muhammad is here. Okay, Ali is here. Hakima Ali. Okay, Zahra Sayyid. Hakima Ali, Zahra Sayyid. Okay. Abdullah Jaliluddin. Abdullah is here. And Ibrahim is here. Okay, fine. Nuju Salah. Nuju and Nadeen both are here. Zahra Riyad. Okay, she is here. Abu Bakr Ghani. Zainab Ali Ahmad. She is here. Mariam Abdul Amir. Majd Bashar. Asil Hassan. Okay. Ali Mustafa. Asil is here. Fine. Ali Mustafa. Okay. Ahmad Khalid. Ali Mustafa is here. Okay. Ahmad Khalid. Abdullah Usamuddin. Ahmad is here. Abdullah Usamuddin. Latifa is here. Okay, fine. Fatma Abdali. Zainab Abdali. Fatma is here. Okay. Zainab Abdali and Zainab Abdul Al. Zainab Abdali is here. Zainab Abdul Al is here. Ala Salman. Okay. If I mark your name, then you can leave. If I mark your name, you can leave. Isra is here. Okay. Ali Abdul Razak. Okay, Ali Abdul Razak is here. Elizabeth is here. Ali Makki and Ibrahim Muhammad, sorry. So Ali Makki and Ibrahim both are here. Okay, fine. Okay. Anybody else from this section? Everybody done from this section? Okay, going to section 1. People from section 1. Yeah, Dana. Okay, so Iman and Sarah and Dana. So Iman, Sarah. We have 2 Dana, right? Dana Yasir, okay. Okay, Dana is done. Who else? Khalid Qasim and Muhammad Khalid. Okay, Muhammad Khalid, Khalid Qasim. Done? Everybody done? Fatma Ahmed. Okay. Okay, Fatma done. Anybody else? Hakima, I think I marked you. I didn't mark you. I'll check. If you want, you can leave. I'll mark you. Okay, Hakima done. Okay. See you on Thursday. Oh.